Along with the team struggling, Paul George's struggles have continued. He's only scored over 14 points once in the last 8 games, and 3 of those games have been single digits. More notably, after his 2-point output against the Raptors, ESPN's Shams reported that Paul George is playing through pain. Quote, I'm told is to the point where he has gotten injections to play and compete over the last 4 or 5 games. That's something players do come playoff time, not necessarily in the regular season, end quote. We've discussed this before, but we were hoping as the season went along that we would like that it would look more like the old Paul George. So hearing this whole injections component to things, obviously we know he's got the torn tendon in the pinky. I think Shams also said that he still has lingering effects from the knee injury, the hyperextension that he had. Does this make more sense as to why we're seeing Paul George look, I guess, as lackluster as he has looked over the last few games?
I'm sure that injuries have something to do with it, but I'm also sure that 90+% of the guys that play in the league have lingering injuries. I know that to be a fact. So lingering injuries is nothing new in the NBA season. So if that's the case, then like you sit out, because saying I'm playing injured, like if sometimes you're 75% may be better than somebody else's 90%.
Sometimes it isn't.
Sometimes it isn't, right? Then that's up to the coach to decide whether you're rolling or not, and to give somebody else an opportunity. But if you're going to be out there and you're going to say you won't be out there, then the excuses like that, they're meaningless.
Yeah.
Like nobody's really okay. You got it. So I know for a fact that, hey, we sit up here and talk about your injuries and you talk about it, but at the end of the day, he's talking about it. He's talking about his injuries. Shams, he got, Shams, who reporting this, not a local Philly guy, like a national reporter is saying, oh, he's done this, he's done that. And oh, look at him, he's still trying to play. Like, I get that, but people still aren't trying to hear it because they see what people do, especially in that town. They've seen people play through injuries. I don't have to name names, but they've seen people do it. They've seen people do it in the playoffs. They've seen people do it during the season. It's been done in the city of Philadelphia. So Philly's different. I don't know about LA and some other places, but Philly's different. The city of Philly and the Philly fans expect you to try to play. And I'll ask you guys a question. In watching the games, do you watch the games and say, oh, he looks injured?
Yeah, I did. I said that before this came out. I told Mark, I go, it's got to be an injury. I said, it's got to be.
I said, do you – no. I said, do you – not the outcome. I'm saying, do you watch him play? And when he's playing, say he looks injured.
No.
In his play.
I mean, specifically injured. No, he can't stop.
So
he can't stop touching that splint, though.
That's the question I'm asking you. I'm not asking you on the results. Do you think he's injured? I'm saying when you're watching the game, do you see him and be like, nah, he something's got to be wrong with him? Because you still see him driving to the basket, you still see him defending, you still see him doing all the things that he would do. Maybe he don't do them as well. So is he not doing them as well because of injury, or is he not doing them as well because he maybe can't do them as well anymore?
Other than him,
change of scenery can affect that.
Yeah. Other than him touching a splint every 5 seconds, no, I don't see him obviously injured. No.
Yes. Okay.
I mean, he just looks like a step slower than what the Paul George I've seen in the past. And I don't know if that's because of the knee injury, but like not being able to blow by Zaire Williams.
So to ask again, if they would not have come out with this report, would you have said his decline is because he's injured and he's getting shots? And would you expect that to be the answer, or he's just not balling? What would your answer be?
Yeah, I just think he's just not balling.
Okay.
I think it's a combination.
So what I'm saying is now you kind of understanding why things come out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. I told Margaret, I was like, you're going to hear a comment out of his camp soon saying, "Oh, I'm injured," because he's seeing all the stuff that's being said, and he wants to know.
I'm gonna let y'all know the truth of what's really.
Oh
going
yeah,
on.
it's not because I'm washed.
Yeah.
It's because of X, Y, and Z. I'm not surprised at all that story came.
And
out.
I do think that some of that is probably a reason, but I also think that change of scenery is part of that reason.
Yeah.
And I do think that some of it is Paul. I think it's a combination.
I think it's also a combination of losing and demeanor being lower. I think it's also a combination of being a little hesitant on a new team where you don't know what your role is. When you're already kind of a half step slower, that other hesitancy.
But, I mean, I think for his status and who he is and where in the expectations that were put on him because he signed that dotted line. He signed that dotted line. So he knew what comes, he knows what comes with that contract, especially in Philadelphia. If you don't know, you will know.
He knows
what comes with it. So when you do that, when things are going a certain direction and you feel like that's not the direction they should be, where's your trigger to be like, man, I'm changing this?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Where's your trigger to say I'm gonna do something different? Now, I was a guy that could do something different, but I couldn't do Paul George different. You know what I'm saying? Like some guys just aren't capable or as talented to do what Paul can do. Now, my energy and effort and making sure I do all the things that I can control, I can do that. But Paul is different. So guys like him are different. Like you got to do something different. You got to bring the consistency in your game because of the skill level we know you have. So if the injuries are there, then sit out, do a job, sit out, play. But when you play, just play.
Yeah.
But if it's the injuries, like I don't want somebody to take a shot just to play. But if you are taking a shot and then you're playing, guess what people are going to expect you to do? Play good.
Perform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the one thing that, because I've seen, obviously Sixers fans are going nuts about the way Paul George is playing. Some people say they blame Nick Nurse, and I'm not. Nick Nurse has a lot of blame to go around his way. I mean, some of the lineups that he's put out there. But people said, oh, he's not getting, Nick Nurse is not drawing enough plays for him when Maxey and Embiid are there. They're not drawing enough plays for Paul George. Some of these shot attempts, it's not enough. But the game where he scores 2 points, 7 shot attempts, no Maxey and no Embiid. You had the opportunity to be the guy that night. And then also, too, when he is playing with Maxey and Embiid, Kelly Oubre and Quentin Grimes just got there. He's putting up the third most shots. And it's like, I know some people are like, oh, well, they're giving him the Tobias treatment. He's just sitting in the corner all day. Well, I mean, Oubre's getting the ball. He's the fourth option. Quentin Grimes just got there. He's putting up 15 and 20 shots. So it's like, well, who do you put that on? Is that just Paul George not being
aggressive? You're not throwing up plays for Jared Butler.
Yeah, I think that those guys' energy is different. I think they're getting transition baskets, especially from Kelly, maybe getting offensive rebounds. They cut more. They kind of play more of at a pace that's different, where they get more opportunities. And whereas Paul is probably used to being plays called for him or the ball being in his hand, and he can kind of dictate the action or the shot. So playing with Maxey and Joel, like the ball being out of his hands is different. So you may go a couple possessions where he may not really get a feel for the basketball. So some of that is coaching, where you have to make sure that we giving him opportunities. Some of it is on Paul, kind of demanding it and kind of being more assertive on the court. But if you have a guy that's kind of used to kind of kind of let the game come to him, and knowing that as the game goes on, his touches are going to go up and up and up. But now you let the game come to you, and your touches aren't necessarily going to go up.
Yeah.
So now that's how you get into a 1 for 7 and whatever and get 2 points, because now they're not calling plays. Now, no matter what, the offense isn't going through, no matter how it's going. So that I can, that happens. So I think that's a total mind change from team perspective, coach, player, players.
And to support that, in 9 games with Joel, or I'm sorry, he has 9 20-point games this season. Only one of those came with Joel on the court.
Of course. That doesn't surprise me at all.
And I was just looking at him, there's like Butler, who's fresh off the street coming here.
Yeah.
Fresh off the street. Butler has more points in 3 games. I think 1 less shot than him in half the amount of minutes. Georgia's played 102 minutes the past 3 games. Butler's played like 52.
Some of that is the player.
Yeah, Butler I see him out there. He's aggressive.
Yeah.
He goes after it. He's chasing it.
So Paul got to be more assertive.
Can't be passive P. That's what he can't be.
Oh, my goodness.
Hey, man. I could say a lot worse things with that P. We could go a lot passive P on me.
We know it's coming from you. We know it's coming.
Oh, man. That's being nice considering, what he could be. What he is getting. I'm saying would be. He is getting it.
We talked about the passive P thing maybe like a couple months ago. I remember that was one of the first kind of things we talked about was, calling him passive P. I remember, except one of the clips we have on our channel. So like, this is honestly, it's PinkyPrown, but now you have the injury aspect within the finger now on top of the knee issue. And
Pinky P?
Pinky P, yeah. But he said the other day that he couldn't wait for the break. He said the break is really needed. Obviously, he's going through some injuries and whatnot. We talked about that the franchise needs to decide what they want to do as far as do we go tank or actually commit to try to get to at least the play-in. Eric, we looking at our schedule, we have Boston on the Thursday when we first come back. That Saturday we play Brooklyn. That Monday we play Chicago. And then play Wednesday in New York. So we have no back-to-backs within the first 4 games. How long do you give it? Is it going to be kind of a decision made based on how we do those first 4 games? Or is it going to be kind of like maybe a week or 2 before they say, hey, okay, let's call off the dogs. Let's be done for the season.
I think it's how far of a separation you get from the number 10 seed. I think as long as you're within reach of that, it'll still be in play. So I think it's more about that.
Yeah. Well, it's gonna be big. We play the Nets and the Bulls within that period. So those are Nets are tied with us right now, and then the Bulls are a game and a half ahead of us for that 10th spot. So very intriguing first 4 games to start out the post All-Star break.
We've had 4 losing streaks of 5 games or more this season.
Wow,
it's pretty brutal.
It's really brutal.
Also see a lot of love for Doc Rivers now. Everyone's starting to love Doc Rivers now, which is hilarious. People ran that guy out of town, and now everyone's saying, "Oh man, Doc was better without the Embiid lineups." Well, yeah, I mean, but now, never Nick Nurse is drawing up stuff in there no one ever seen before. Tobias said we never seen anything like that, and now people want Doc back.
That's funny.